Okay, another video on Of Mice and Men, this time looking at how you might structure an answer when you're writing about the text. Now, I've had a few requests asking me if I would put up a load of A-star responses, A-star paragraphs, series of A-star paragraphs, to help you write them. Quite frankly, no, I'm not going to do that. These videos are there for your revision. So I'm just going to guide you through these things, and you need to take an active role in this learning process. These videos aren't just your one-stop shop the night before the exam to kind of fill your head with all of these A-star paragraphs and then go into the exam and either not need them or use them. Write the stuff that you have remembered from the video and not actually thought about the specific question that's in front of you on the day of the exam. So sorry if that's a bit harsh, but I have to be cruel only to be kind, as Hamlet said. Anyway, when we're writing analytical paragraphs, we need to think about PED paragraphs. Now, your teachers might have taught you something else, but they'll probably have taught you a 3-part or a 4-part structure. And for GCSE, I would aim for this 4-part structure: point, evidence, explain, and develop. You might have point, evidence, explain, link, so make sure you link back to the question, or point, evidence, analyze, develop. But anyway, think about these 4 points. Now, what should a perfect PED analytical paragraph do? Well, first of all, it needs to make a relevant point that relates to the question. Again, this is why I'm not just going to put a series of paragraphs, series of exemplars up, because you need to think about what the actual question is in front of you. There needs to be well-selected quotation, ideally several quotations perhaps, if need be, and quotations that have been well chosen because they have layers, not just something that is purely descriptive, but ideally something that you can say something about the language, the imagery, the structure of the quotation, maybe some context, and I'm going through them here. So thinking about the impact and meanings of language, so the vocabulary choice, the impact of the structure of the quotation, as in where it appears in the whole text, but also how the quotation itself is structured, so word order, punctuation, etc. You need to be going in depth and fully explore connotations of language and imagery. You need to think about impact of writer and readers. In your paragraphs, you need to be referring to the writer and the readers, so the writer and the audience. You need to be using literary terminology, so metaphors, iambic pentameter, etc. Particularly with Of Mice and Men, context is key. This is in the AQA exam. It's all about context for the Of Mice and Men, to show that you understand what life was like in 1930s America. As I tell my students, quote short, comment long. Keep your quotations as short as possible, but write a lot about them. And therefore you write a lot about a little. So think of it this way: the tip of the iceberg. Now, in your science lessons, you may know that the properties of ice is that only 10% of ice shows above the surface. If you don't believe me, go and get an ice cube, stick it in a glass of water, and see how much is above the surface. Now, that is the same with ice, no matter what size it is. So the thing is, when we look at a text and we read the words on the page, we're just looking at the tip. Okay, we need to dig deeper and we need to go beneath the surface, and we need to ensure that we're using the correct analytical vocabulary. We shouldn't say nothing that anything is obvious, but we talk about what the text shows the reader, what it indicates, what it conveys, what it suggests, what it implies, what it alludes to, what it presents, what it highlights, emphasizes, reflects, and provokes. Okay, so these words are words that we show that we use to show that we are analysing a text, that we've looked at the surface, and now this is going to help us uncover what is beneath. Now, here we have a band 5 PED paragraph. This is for Of Mice and Men. Curly's wife might be seen as a vehicle through which Steinbeck explores the misogynistic attitudes of males in a patriarchal environment like the ranch. Candy calls her a tart, and George labels her jailbait. So we've got 2 quotations in there. Even though neither character knows Curly's wife well, both appear enthusiastic in their stereotyping of her, suggested through the use of derogatory language. The males on the ranch objectify and degrade Curly's wife according to her apparent sexual amorality. Indeed, even Steinbeck fails to give Curly's wife her own name. She is instead labelled as the property of her husband, providing the ultimate insight into the lack of gender equality in the novel. Now, if you go back and look at those 10 points about the perfect PED paragraph, this matches it. We have a point, we have the evidence here, 2 quotations, we have an explanation, and then we develop. Okay. Now, that was a question, an answer, a paragraph answering this particular question, and this is effectively a standard question that you might get in the exam. How does Steinbeck present such and such a character? So let's break down the structure, or go through structuring a response to this. I'm going to take this quotation. It's actually broken up into 2: full rouged lips and heavily made up. This presents Curly's wife as a seductive character. The rouged lips, it's a sexual image. Okay, red is linked to passion, but also to danger as well. And she's presented as trashy, but also we see that she could be insecure. So here's my answer. Steinbeck initially presents Curly's wife as a manipulative and flirtatious character. The full rouged lips are a provocative image, showing her attempt to be a seductive figure on the ranch. She is dressed almost entirely in red, emphasizing her incongruity as the only woman on the ranch. Through the repetition of the colour red, Steinbeck conveys her as a sensual and sexual character, but with its link to the girl in weed, this is underscored with a hint of danger. That she is heavily made up portrays her as a trashy figure, which confirms Candy and George's opinion. Yet Steinbeck uses this to subtly foreshadow her insecurities that are revealed later on in the novella. So, first of all, we have our point, our topic sentence. It relates directly to the question, this presentation of Curly's wife. We have the evidence. We've got 2 quotations in there: full rouged lips, heavily made up. Then we have this section. Now you can see immediately that the evidence is just made up of 6 words in total, and then this blue part, and that is our explanation. So we are writing a lot about a little, and then we develop that point even further. Have a look at the analytical vocabulary that I'm using: showing, emphasizing, conveys, portrays, and foreshadow. And then see how many times I have referred to the writer. By referring to the writer, although I haven't necessarily referred to the reader, I am implying that I'm thinking about the reader, because I've talked about the writer 3 times. So that would be your ideal point, evidence, explain, develop paragraph for Of Mice and Men.